Like a lot of people, I've changed careers in all of my working history. At one point in time, I had a small moving and storage company, and we did pretty good. It belonged to a relative of mine. I worked for him for a while and then eventually bought it. And I bought it because we could work all winter. I was a mason contractor and winter times were tough. So I bought this, and my aunt, who grew up with a woman who was married to a billionaire, very, very successful, wealthy. And she connected me with this guy. She said, go over and talk to him. He's a really nice guy. Go over and see what he wants done. I said, okay. I didn't know he was a billionaire. I didn't know how big his company was, and he wanted some stuff moved around in his office building. So I show up to this beautiful, massive office building overlooking the city of Boston, and nice place. So I park my vehicle. I go inside. She said, go right down the hall, and he's the very last person at the hall, the last office. I said, okay. So he's not in his office, and his secretary, which is right next door, says he's downstairs right now in the accounting department. Just take the elevator and go down to the lower level, and he's right there right now. So I go downstairs, and here's this man who is, 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, and he's well dressed. He has no suit jacket on, but he's got nice clothes. You can see he's the CEO. He's wearing beautiful clothes and well dressed and smells nice, and his hair is combed perfect. And all I see is this guy open up a door, says accounting department next to the door, and he screams at the top of his lungs, screams, "You effing people better get your asses moving, and if you don't, I'll fire every single damn one of you." And this guy went on for, I think it was a good 5 minutes he went on. Then people hopping around and running to their desks. I'm sitting there and said, who is this crazy nut job that I come in here to meet? I step back, and he slams the door in this accounting department. Now, there's got to be 20 people, maybe 30 people in this accounting department. And I'm standing there a little bit shaken, not knowing what this is all about. I'll never forget it. And he comes back, and he slams the door so hard. This is a big, heavy oak door in an office building that's 2 inches thick, has the big stainless steel doorknobs, and he leans into this door and slams it shut. The whole wall shook. Now, I'm observing this, and I'm saying, I think this guy is not someone I want to work for. So what happens after that, he walks up to me and he goes, "Hi, are you Larry?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said this in such a calm, quiet, controlled voice. I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Hi, I'm Mr. So-and-so." I said, "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you." I said, he says, "Your aunt is, my wife's best friend. They've known each other since they were kids. They grew up next door to each other for years, and they were close friends. Your aunt used to work for me," and told me the whole spiel. And that shook me up. I said, I have no idea what I got myself into. This guy ended up being one of the best people that I ever met in my entire life. I was still drinking when I bought this business, and I was having a tough time, having a tough go of it. This man was so smart that he made me nervous. But he was a down-to-earth man. He was the most down-to-earth person I think I ever met that they had this kind of money. He had, I don't know how many millions of square feet of commercial space, including hotels all over the world. So I'm trying to figure out this guy's story that grew up in an area that was very simple. You would think that, he must have came from money, and he didn't. He built this himself, which to me was just flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted completely on this. But anyways, he was the kind of guy that he could talk to if he knew you or knew somebody of you or knew your family. He would talk to you just like you or anybody. So we went into his office and we had a cup of coffee, and he got me a cup of coffee. This is the kind of guy that he was. And we talked about what he wanted to do. And in this building was, it was full, and it was very busy, and we're sitting in his massive office. And I'm sitting down next to him at his couch. He says, "This is what I'm trying to do, Larry." He said, "I bought all these houses off of these people that are on this street. And it goes to my building here that we're sitting in that overlooks the city. But all these nice homes, there's probably 10 of them, maybe 12 of them on the street. When you come off a ramp on a highway, you drive down, and where he is in his building, it was very, very beautiful." But he said, "I bought all these properties off these people. I made them a deal that they couldn't refuse. Now we've got to get them out. Some of them are taking their time to get out. They can't find homes to live in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help them and pay for all their moving expenses. And I want to have you do it. I'd like to have somebody I know and that's in that sort of business. And, lo and behold, I found you." And I'm thinking to myself, he just went out and made a ridiculous offer to all these people to buy their houses because he wanted to make a bigger parking lot on both sides. So we're in his office, and his phone is ringing left and right. He finally turns it over to his office manager, and the office manager says, "I'll take everything from here." And we ended up sitting there having a coffee. He was telling me about his childhood and telling about, family members. And then I heard afterwards from this worker that knew him since he was a kid, like my aunt did. And he started out in this business. It was his father's business, and he had 3 small nursing homes in the area. And the area was It was a good area, but it wasn't anything fantastic. It wasn't upscale. It wasn't, the opposite. It was just a nice little place. And that's where he built his business. And I think to myself, this man couldn't possibly have done this without some kind of huge funds from the government, or I was going through this in my mind. I couldn't even comprehend it. But anyways, his nephew, the way it started is his nephew, he had all girls in his family, him and his wife. He never had a son, and he always wanted a son to take over his business or whatever. I can understand where he was at. His nephew got in a motorcycle accident. He was close to him. He was a good kid, and he crashed his motorcycle so bad they weren't sure he was going to live. So this poor kid ended up, they didn't think he would make it. So he said, "I want to put him in my nursing home." They took him from the hospital first, and once they got him not bleeding, in those days, once you stop bleeding, you went home. And he's the one that's actually started aftercare, accidentally. He got into the room in one of his buildings and get everything the doctors wanted. He called many doctors to see if they wanted to volunteer to make him basically a project. See if we can get him up and running. And he said, I will get any equipment you need. I will pay for it and have it here immediately. It took about a month. He had all the equipment the doctors ordered, and the doctors are volunteering for this because he said, if we can get this kid up and walking, and you could put your name to it, our name, start a group. He said, imagine what we could do for the world, for the country. It took about a year for that young man in that room to be up, walking, and moving around. And the short of the story is, he became about 97% between liver problems and damaged everything. Every bone in his body was demolished, and they got him up, walking around, and actually back out in society, working with a job. Very brilliant man. And he was a runner-up for Time Magazine's Man of the Year. This man didn't like notoriety. He kept to himself, and he said, they don't give it to people anyways. Usually 99% of the time it goes to the president or somebody, just under the president maybe. But he said, don't even put my name in this. So after a while, this kid became this pretty well known. And Mr. Martin had said, there's no reason that people should be walking around like this. And that intrigued me and just completely blew my mind that this guy thinks like this. My point is this guy wants to help people. He used to help the elderly. He used to get notes. He'd take down notes from doctors and he would figure things out and became a multi-billionaire. And the reason he did is because he gave. He gave 100%. He had a great mind. He was a brilliant man. Didn't know anything about medical, but he was the guy that went in and washed people's backs. My aunt was the accounting department, and his wife did the same thing. She mopped floors, and they had these 3 nursing homes. And I'll finish the story, I'm sure, about him later on, but it's just remarkable what you can do when somebody wants to help. When you want to help somebody, you can do some amazing things. And I found out that sometimes you can talk to people and tell them something, and you don't even know you're helping them. That has happened to me. It's a great feeling.